These very talented members of the New York Youth Symphony are giving their all for art's sake. Their proposed cuts in federal funding for the arts would hurt their program, though not shut it down. But the same can't be said for groups in other parts of the country. Our cover story is from Erin Moriarty of 48 Hours.
There is something surprising happening in the Pine Mountains of Kentucky. Like most mining communities, Letcher County has lost thousands of jobs. And yet, how do you account for the new whiskey distillery and restaurant in the county seat of Whitesburg, the renovated buildings, the 15,000-watt radio station? What has helped breathe new life into the decimated coal economy here has little to do with mining.
We have 18 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees. We have over $1 million payroll annually.
This is Appalshop, short for Appalachian Community Film Workshop, a nonprofit arts center on the edge of town that exists largely because of federal funding.
Appalshop has been here in this town for 48 years, and I think it has been an example of the diversified economy we really need in this region. We say Appalachia here, but...
29-year-old Ada Smith, a program director and fundraiser, grew up here. Her grandfather worked in the mines, but because of Appalshop, her father didn't have to.
So this is my dad and my mom here on a steam deck editing suite.
Appalshop was a seed that grew out of President Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty in the 1960s. Programs were established in impoverished areas to encourage young people to develop new skills in the arts, like filmmaking.
By working on these films, it helps me learn more about the place I'm a part of. And I think it will cause people to respect other cultures.
The Film Workshop has grown into a diverse and thriving arts center where picks and shovels have been replaced by picks and bows. But now, what was started by the 36th president has suddenly been put in doubt by the 45th.
This is what we're calling the America First budget.
Last month, the Trump administration unveiled a proposed budget that defunds the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Appalachian Regional Commission, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, all which provide critical funding to Appalshop.
The National Endowment of the Arts is facing some tough critics in Congress.
Many of these agencies have been threatened with extinction before. In the 1990s, when members of Congress accused the NEA of supporting offensive art, the agency's budget was cut nearly in half. But the Trump administration says this time the cuts aren't about taste, but about taxes and struggling taxpayers. Budget Director Mick Mulvaney.
Can I really go to those folks, look them in the eye and say, look, I want to take money from you and I want to give it to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? That is a really hard sell. In fact, it's something we don't think we can defend anymore.
This, despite the fact that altogether funding for these agencies makes up less than 0.02% of the federal budget.
To me, it is, again, really short-sighted and silly.
Ada Smith says that, in fact, these federal budget cuts will hurt the people struggling the most in areas that helped elect the president. Letcher County voted 4-1 for President Donald Trump.
The people working on this budget haven't spent enough time understanding where these types of federal resources go and how much they're needed in communities like this.
With grants from the NEA, Appalshop filmmakers have turned the local culture into indelible images.
Started out farming, bought a mule for $125 then.
Appalshop archivist Carolyn Rubens.
These are the Holyfields. He worked in the coal mines, and they raised 11 children and lived in Jenkins, which is about 20 minutes from here.
Without federal funding, will this important part of American history and heritage be lost?
For 20,000 years, human beings have been making art. That streak is not going to end in 2018 if the NEA goes away.
David Marcus is the artistic director for a theater company in Brooklyn, New York. Surprisingly, he supports the cuts. Marcus says that even small government grants interfere with the free market by giving recipients an unfair edge.
So when the federal government comes in and gives $10,000 or $15,000 to one company and not other companies, they're really putting a heavy thumb on the scale.
Yes, theaters may fail, Marcus says, but others will simply take their place.
But what guarantee do you have it in a place like Whitesburg, Kentucky? What guarantee you have anything that will take that place?
I don't have a guarantee.
So it'll just go.
Things go. Yes, I mean this is the nature of the world. This is the nature of art.
Art needs subsidy to be alive. You cannot just have the marketplace determining what is done.
Rocco Landesman is a Broadway theater producer and former chairman of the NEA. He worries that without subsidies, challenging, daring art will never be produced. Case in point.
If you came to me and said, I've got this hot idea for a musical about Alexander Hamilton and the Founding Fathers, and it's going to be done in rap and hip hop, I would say as a commercial producer, my first take would be, really?
I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing it.
The reality is, I'm a Puerto Rican guy who writes musicals, and that's not very common.
Lin-Manuel Miranda pulled off the impossible. He's the creator of that Broadway musical Hamilton, perhaps the greatest theater sensation of the decade.
As an artist, you're grateful for any opportunity, any crack in the door.
Miranda credits the success of Hamilton and his first musical, In the Heights, to federally subsidized theaters that took a chance.
At every formative stage, I can point to public funding of the arts as making that possible. My first job was as an intern for WNET, that's the PBS affiliate in New York City. My first musical was workshopped at the O'Neill Musical Theater Center, which is partly funded by the NEA.
And it wasn't just the NEA.
I grew up loving musicals. I had parents who loved musicals, and we never had money to go see Broadway shows. I think I saw 3 maybe before I was an adult. But because of PBS great performances, I saw Into the Woods, and it changed my life.
And that, says Miranda, is the point, to give children who otherwise wouldn't have it access to the arts, like 11-year-old Jamin Radosevich and his older sisters, Samantha and Grace, in Letcher County, Kentucky. Appalshop is the reason they've been able to take music lessons.
If you hand me an instrument, I want to learn how to play it, so I was excited when I could learn the fiddle.
The costs of funding these programs are only a tiny fraction of the federal budget. But not funding them, Ada Smith says, would cost Americans much more.
We try to tell the stories of the people and amplify their voices, their lives, their stories. When you take away that type of federal support, you start leaving out tons, millions of voices in this country that are unheard.